I wanted to talk today about the emotional roller coaster of gut issues. And that is because it's a lot in this space where we're dealing with digestive issues and you haven't really found the solutions yet. You're still struggling with chronic issues. I know it can be hard to find the right answers out there. And in the meantime, it's scary to feel like I just know that the mind kind of races and you wonder if you're ever going to find a solution. I'm not a mental health professional, but what I want to give you guys today is validation and encouragement. I know how it feels to have a health issue, and especially something that there's not a direct answer for. We've been to the doctor, they might have a few tips for you. And sometimes, if those things don't work very well, or if we don't feel like the doctor's on the right track, it can be very discouraging. And I know that's the space where a lot of you are with these functional issues. And it's important when we're talking about gut health specifically because the stress and emotional turmoil that we have as a result of our gut issues ends up becoming this vicious cycle that feeds into the gut issues and can make our symptoms worse. So, I want to encourage you, first of all, that there is a solution out there. You just continue to follow the trail of breadcrumbs, and hopefully, you being here is a big one because here we talk all about the exact issues that you're dealing with. And my clients who work with me one on one, we get tremendous results. I want to talk about how you can deal with the stress. So, continue looking for solutions. The first step, as far as solutions goes, is figuring out how to manage the symptoms. The second step, once you get your symptoms calmed down, is to figure out then how to manage those changes. So maybe you had to make some diet changes. The second step would be, do I need to stick with these changes or can I loosen up my approach? Like maybe you cut out too many foods and now you can try those foods in one at a time and see how each one works with your body. Or maybe you started on a bunch of different supplements and you're feeling better, but now you want to figure out which ones you actually need. That's step two. And then I would really encourage you that if step two is confusing or if it's not going well, let's say that you try to reintroduce foods and you have a lot of reactions, then we do need to look deeper at what's causing all of this from a functional perspective. So maybe you've been to different doctors and you've had scopings, blood tests, and they can't find anything wrong. I just know that's the boat where a lot of my patients are in. Then we want to look at functional tests. What's out of balance in your gut? And how do we rebalance that for actual wellness versus just managing a health condition, right? So that's the practical approach. As far as dealing with the stress, I would say it's critical to manage the stress in the meantime, again, because the stress feeds into a vicious cycle where it can trigger symptoms. And a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've experienced it firsthand. I know that is the case for me. It was when my acid reflux was at its worst, for sure, because I was in this chronic state of stress that never let up. I was always feeling it until I recognized that was the problem. And it took me a while to change the way I was handling stress because that's not something that happens overnight. But now I will notice that it kicks up also when I do have periods of stress like that. So we need to manage stress. And one of the most uh, beneficial ways to manage stress as far as how it affects your digestive system is slow, deep breathing. And it sounds like such a simple thing, but try it. And don't just try it once. Make it a daily practice. Find a time of day. It doesn't have to be the same time. Once a day for just a few minutes. Take some slow, deep breaths into your belly and make the out breath slower than the in breath. And do this for several minutes a day. You can do it more often. It's just that when it comes to making something a habit, it can be easier to make the goal. It's more important to get consistency down, and we're more likely to be consistent when the goal is very achievable. So that's where once a day is all I'm asking. But if you can do it more, there's really not like a maximum. So you could start doing this whenever you feel anxious or whenever you notice that you're having thoughts or worries about your gut health or anything. and you're having those symptoms kick up, you can do it to calm yourself. You'll actually feel your nervous system calming down because when you're doing that deep breathing, it's actually deactivating the fight or flight mode and it's activating the rest, digest, and recover mode. So you need to train your body to do this throughout the day. And that's where I recommend establishing this as a practice, just like you wouldn't go into the gym, lift a bunch of heavy weight, and say, I'm in shape now. Your nervous system doesn't work that way either. So we have to train it and make this a consistent habit because otherwise we're training it every day to do the opposite. We're training it to be stressed. We're training it to be on, even just being on, waking up, starting your day, hitting your to-do list. Like that is perceived by your body as fight or flight. So that's sympathetic nervous system. So we just need to train the body to relax. Some other recommendations I have, other than the deep breathing, because those of you who listen to me a lot, you hear this a lot, but I won't stop emphasizing it because it's that important. So if you've heard me say it a lot and you haven't actually tried it, please start making this a practice. But other recommendations, I would say, looking at, okay, realistically, when do I have energy? And do the things you need to do during the time of the day that you have the most energy, because we can get burned out. And let's say we're trying to eat better or we're trying to follow a specific eating plan. Maybe you're trying to adopt a low FODMAP diet or a low histamine diet, and you're exhausted, maybe after sessions in the bathroom, or maybe just chronically fatigued from your gut issues. This can really lead to frustration, overwhelm, and burnout, especially when we're trying to now do all that it takes to adopt healthier habits. Figure out. So if you're at the end of the day exhausted, maybe that's not the time to do your meal prepping. So maybe it'd be better when you have energy on a Sunday morning or more energy on a Sunday morning to prep your chicken breasts and your vegetables and pre-chop your vegetables at least. Maybe you prep your raw chicken breasts and keep them marinated in a container, and maybe you cook up your rice, just to give you some basic examples. And then you have those things maybe prepped that you can just at the end of the day throw it on the grill or throw it in the oven or just portion it out and heat it up. Maybe you even cook it in advance, depending on what it is. You might prep fresh ingredients like what I just recommended so that you can cook them on the spot. That might be a little more enjoyable. Or if you just want to cook stuff in advance, that would work well for like stews and soups, where you can just make a big batch in your crock pot or your Instapot and then just heat it up every night. And I highly recommend this to take the pressure off of your self. We cook dinner at the end of the day, and that's when we're the most tired. It doesn't make any sense. Try to pick the times of the day you have the most energy. Also, looking at just having a good support system. It can be really challenging socially when you have digestive issues because not everybody understands, and social events can put you in situations where there's food stress, there's food pressure, really finding that support, whether it's one person that understands what you're going through or whether it's our Facebook community. This is a group of people that understands what you're going through. So lean on us. And even if it's just to vent, and we're here for you, we're here to support you if you don't have anybody else that really understands. And also just reframe the whole situation as much as possible. So you want to think about my example of if you're adopting a new way of style of eating for a while, rather than looking at it as restrictive, which can feel just soul sucking, especially if you're a food lover. Think about all the foods that you have access to on your eating plan. So let's just use the low FODMAP as an example, because that one's so popular and so helpful for so many. Let's just say you have a low FODMAP eating framework, and you don't want to be sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I can't eat bread. I can't eat Mexican food. Oh, I miss my ice cream. That sucks. You don't want to sit there and feel that way. So you want to start thinking about what can I eat? Oh, okay, I can have this gluten-free pasta with this Rayo's sensitive sauce with plenty of Parmesan cheese on it. And I can have broccoli on the side, or a salad with some red wine vinegar and oil and Italian seasoning. That sounds wonderful. There are so many foods you can still eat And it's just a matter of finding the meals. And if you need help with meal plans, check out my freebie page because I have a ton of meal plans and food lists and guides, just like the example I just gave, to give you plenty of options of appealing, healthy, happy meals. I have my first week on FODMAP family friendly meal plan. That's a really good starting point that has similar meals. There's a taco night, there's chicken tenders, there's things that almost everybody likes to eat on there. And last but not least, just like I said, reach out if you need further help. I'm happy to jump on a free 15-minute phone call and talk you through some potential solutions. So I'll put that link in the show notes as well.